I'm ready. We are here at Beaver Meadows, just an hour and a half outside of Fort Collins. And whether you are a skier or a hiker, sledding and tubing is something that you can easily do, whether it's out your back door or take an hour and a half or even a 3.5 hour mile trip. We've got some videos about Steamboat out at Fossil Creek Park sledding. And today we will go through at Beaver Meadows, just outside of Red Feather. We're gonna talk to you about 10, 20 questions or so about tubing here in Northern Colorado during winter, but I hope you enjoy. Fun? While you guys watch some video of my family and I going down Howison Hill, Fossil Creek Park sledding hill just out our back door on a random weekend day when we got some good snow, or Beaver Meadows where it was absolutely speed on the hills. I've got 18 questions to answer for you in regards to tubing and sledding in Northern Colorado during winter. Let's go. Tubing versus sledding, what's the difference? Well, tubing, obviously you're on a tube, and sledding, you're on a sled. And sleds, all different types of sleds, but essentially tubing is comfortable and you do have the inflatable. It seems like you can get quite a bit of speed, whereas sleds, there's so many different makes and models, but sleds are relatively cheap, easy to store. That's probably one of the biggest differences, storing sleds versus tubes. Where are the best sledding and tubing spots in Northern Colorado? Right now we're at Beaver Meadows, just an hour and a half outside of Fort Collins, 30 minutes outside of Red Feather, but you've got Hoedown Hill that's 15 minutes in Windsor, but it didn't open up until middle of January because we didn't have a ton of snow. And then from there, you can go up I-70 to Indianola, Keystone, Breckenridge. They've got tubing, Steamboat. We've got Howison Hill at Steamboat. Gosh, I'm getting them all mixed up. Howison, Hoedown, but those are some of the better spots in Northern Colorado. Tubing, we did one tubing session at Howison Hill. It was $30, $35 for about an hour is I think what it was, and essentially it got us about 5 runs. There was quite a bit of effort to carry the sleds or the tubes up to the lift, and then once we got up the lift, it took some time to get up the lift. And again, we got it was for 6 people, 3 adults, 3 kids at Beaver Meadows. It was $180, but for 2 hours, and they ripped through the runs. Not as many twists and turns at Beaver Meadows, but still quite a bit of fun. And then paying, yeah, anywhere between a half hour to 2 hours is generally what you're gonna be paying for tubing. Sledding, generally free, just find a hill. What should you expect at a tubing sledding hill? Generally, you're gonna have to do some walking. We were driving up to Beaver Meadows and we had some snow. We did bring our van, and honestly, we're halfway through tubing today and I'm a little bit nervous driving back. I'm like, God, I really hope I don't get stuck, because it's in Crystal Lakes or near Crystal Lakes as far as Beaver Meadows, which you drive on paved roads, but then you have about 4 miles of dirt roads till Beaver Meadows. And we have a front wheel drive van, but we brought our au pair, and so we needed the space. So wish I would have brought my truck. That being said, once you get to the hill, you're gonna have some hiking to do. Especially if you're sledding, you're gonna be hauling that sled up and down the hills, and we've got kids, so essentially we're hauling the kids up the hill, we're hauling the sleds up the hill, so it is definitely a little bit of a workout when you go tubing or sledding. What gear do you need? Generally, whatever gear you have for skiing would be great for sledding. You want snow boots, snow pants, a good jacket, covers for your ears. One thing that I would recommend though, that I'm not wearing, that I didn't have at Howison Hill, was goggles. Definitely when you're going down there, you're going pretty quick, snow's whipping into your eyes. So one thing that I would recommend is goggles, gloves, and a helmet. We're not wearing a helmet today. We did wear one at Howison Hill, and definitely recommend wearing a helmet when tubing. Sledding, you're probably just fine. Can you bring your own gear to pay tubing hills? I don't believe so. Not on the ones that I've been to. You are renting or paying for the tube when you're going there. Some of the tubes, like at Beaver Meadows, they've got a hook for the pulley that's bringing you up the top of the mountain, so you have to use their tubes. So So generally speaking, you don't want to bring your own gear to pay tubing. What are the safety concerns? Honestly, at Howson Hill, the gal out there said when it's warm and then it freezes at night, I mean, those hills can get real fast and there's twists and turns on that one. Whereas here at Beaver Meadows, it's relatively straight down, but it is fast. And you know, I will say, I definitely think you got to be careful. You can smash your butt while you're going down the hill, that's for sure. So you're gonna wanna use those hammies and lift yourself up when you're going down the hill. That's probably the biggest safety concern. So you gotta make sure that you're taking care and being safe. What's the best time to go? Obviously, winter time periods. Like I said, Hoedown Hill in Windsor didn't open up until middle of January. They're hoping to open up middle of December, but they'll open up once we have snow. So on a heavy snow year, you can expect it to open up possibly, especially up the ski hills, Steamboat, Keystone, when other skiing is opening up, you know, around October, November time period. What's the best age for tubing and sledding? Well, we got lucky that Boone, who's just about 3 years old, is pretty tall, but 36 inches is pretty much the minimum height. That was at Howson Hill and here at Beaver Meadows, but really their rule of thumb was to be able to grab both handles, not necessarily age or height. That being said, Hoedown Hill does have a 42-inch height limit, so there are some restrictions on that. Ages just depends on, you know, how old and, you know, really ready you are or prepared your kiddo is. How does Northern Colorado compare to other tubing destinations? Northern Colorado, sledding, you're gonna have to make a trip if you're wanting to get some tubing, some really solid tubing. Now, Hoedown Hill is obviously solid. It's one of a really cool new amenity in town, so we gotta make sure we support it, get out there, use it. But generally speaking, if you're wanting to get some like solid downhill tubing, you're gonna have to head up I-70 up the Poudre Canyon. What's the best budget-friendly option? Sledding. You know, sledding, essentially your only cost is a sled, which you can get super cheap little saucer sleds for 10 bucks, or you can go a little bit nicer, 35, 50 buck, you know, $50 sleds. I'm sure there's more expensive ones, but then once you buy the sled, all you gotta do is store it, and then you go and have fun anytime there's any type of snow in the area. Do you need to make reservations? Well, generally no, but I walked into Beaver Meadows, and it is an hour and a half from Fort Collins, now only a half hour from our cabin, but I walked in and she said, oh, we're booked today. And I said, what? I called yesterday. You guys said that there was no reservations needed. We could walk in as needed. So best bet, if you're making that hour and a half, 2-3 hour trip, make a reservation. But if you're just on a whim and you're skiing for 4 days and you're like, hey, let's go tubing today. Like I'm just beat. I don't want to do a full day of skiing. Maybe we go tubing. You probably could walk in and get some luck. Are there tubing hills with lodges or food nearby? Beaver Meadows, I've never eaten here, but you got the Potbelly just about 20 minutes away, and then Steamboat obviously is Steamboat. So generally speaking, where there is tubing, there are lodges. Whereas there's sledding, it's just gonna be at a park or a hill and you're gonna have to go home for hot chocolate or go to Starbucks afterwards. What's the best way to get to these places? Are all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive vehicles required? Well, I will tell you after this, if we can make it back up this hill. But yeah, I'm a big all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive if you're heading up the canyons or I-70. But you know, if you're in town sledding, you're just fine with your front-wheel drive car. We have our front-wheel drive van that we're gonna have to take back up this hill that does have some snow on it. So I'm hopeful that we're gonna be okay. That being said, all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive up the canyons is just a very safe bet. What are some pro tips for a great tubing or sledding day? Dress warm, check the weather. Wind is not fun, but you know, you're gonna get cold regardless. So, you know, just dress in layers. Eat before you go. You don't want to get wet, so wear some polyurethane clothes, not cotton, and otherwise just go out and have a blast. That's the pro tip, and be safe. How much exercise do you actually get? You know, I'm gonna tell you, I'm sweaty. I'm kind of smelly, honestly, right now. But you do get a decent amount of exercise while doing this, especially if you're towing kids along, because they don't want to walk up the hills. They get tired pretty quickly. And, you know, so that being said, it is a decent exercise. And finally, is tubing or sledding a good alternative to skiing? No, tubing or sledding is a fun activity to do, but if you are able to and desire to, skiing and snowboarding are absolutely, you know, hands down a full day activity. You know, you've got moguls, trees, you've got downhill, fast, slow, bunny runs, off trail, different lifts, runs. You could do it an entire day at Steamboat and generally not hit the same run twice. So tubing and sledding are just an alternative for a day trip, day fun thing to do with the family or yourself. Just get out there. There's plenty of individuals out here having fun on this hill, but we got Rocky there that's just walking back to the hill after going to the bathroom, and Nola and Luisa are up there having a blast. So those are the 18 questions that hopefully help you understand tubing in Northern Colorado a bit better. So that is a wrap on tubing and sledding in Northern Colorado. It was a blast, whether we were in Steamboat out our back door or just a half hour outside our cabin or hour and a half outside of Fort Collins at Beaver Meadows. Tubing and sledding, fun for everybody. Now stick around while we go skiing and snowmobiling next, and then we finish up with skiing at Steamboat. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.